2 weeks into a war launched by Hamas terrorists, and Americans overwhelmingly sympathize with Israel. More than 60%, according to a new Quinnipiac poll, only 13% sympathizing with Palestinians. And President Biden is making the United States' solidarity with Israel very clear. But pro-Palestinian protesters still taking to the streets, the U.S. Capitol, hundreds of demonstrators arrested at the rotunda demanding Israeli ceasefire. But here's what I fear. That as the war drags on, and there will be horrible images coming out of Gaza, there will be civilians, there will be children, they will end up being killed, sadly. Even if Israel does the best they can to avoid casualties, will U.S. public support fade over time? Back with Geraldo Rivera, Sean Spicer, and comedian and actor Judy Gold. Geraldo, what do you think?
I think it is inevitable. There's always, such competing catastrophes for the center stage spotlight. Something else will happen. I don't know what. Maybe, Congress will totally break down and people will go home and leave the Capitol deserted. I don't know what it is, but there is always something. But this is truly, for this era, for this epoch, it is the original sin. They came across the border. They took 1,300, 1,400 lives, the worst atrocity since the Holocaust. Those are real. And I think it is incumbent on us to continually remind the people who listen, who watch us, that this is the horror, that this is a crime, this is a mass murder.
But you know what's going to happen, right? There's going to be a situation where Israel's already told everyone leave the area. Hamas is trying to make sure the civilians stay there. There's going to be a hit on Hamas will fire a missile from an apartment building. Israel will respond. There will have been kids or something inside that apartment building. It will be heartbreaking to look at the videos and the images of the damage that Israel did. And it's very hard to remind people of the context.
Right, but I think that when we say pro-Palestinian, I don't want anything to happen to innocent Palestinians.
It's going to, though.
Right, I get that. But we're talking about people who are pro-Hamas, who are defending Hamas.
But what I'm worried about is the people who are going to shift. Forget about the people who are right now the pro-Hamas people, right?
Right.
They're in the minority. I'm worried about they're going to lose the support of the people who are currently supporting Israel, but they're kind of on the fence, right? They're saying, well, look at what this is awful what happened. Of course they got to respond.
Right.
And then time's going to go.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
You got two groups of people. You got one, the natural fade, right? So as this gets put in the rearview mirror. I mean, look at Ukraine right now. Zelensky's begging to come over. Netanyahu won't let him because he realizes we don't want to share the spotlight.
Ukraine's a perfect example.
Right. But now, I mean, people can't even remember. So you're going to get that natural fade on any issue it happens, right? It just, natural disaster, people start forgetting what happened. There's a new thing. And then second is what you're talking about. What's going to happen once people forget why it started and the imagery starts being, okay, this Palestinian building got shelled and here's how many innocent people died in the media, which is how we started the show, is going to start focusing on that event.
Absolutely.
And when people forget, that event stemmed from the innocent loss of life that occurred, 2, 3, 4 weeks ago.
We started the program, I said, the pessimists always win in the Middle East. And that I absolutely am certain of will happen here. If you have the worst case scenario, it's coming. It'll be awful. It'll be even worse than it is. And it's not going to solve anything. At the end of the day, there's not going to be two states living in peace side by side, which is still, after George H.W. Bush and George W. Bush U.S. policy, you never hear about it anymore. No one in power really is advocating for it anymore. And you'll have this restive population. It'll be radicalized the next time you get rid of Hamas. It'll be something else. It'll be Islamic Jihad or ISIS. Mosul and ISIS. ISIS took over the city of Mosul. 3 years it took to dislodge ISIS from Mosul. It's going to be that long.
What can Israel do? I mean, what can Israel do to try to mitigate that?
I think that, if you're asking me,
I am.
You've got to target Hamas leadership relentlessly, throughout the world the way they did after Munich.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.